exceptionally kind with your introduction, and thank you all on a weekend morning to come and join for this program. I really appreciate it. So as I was telling Sudha, my background is both in the US and in India. Ultimately, what it boils down to is patients are the same everywhere. Patient care is the same pretty much everywhere. Conjure systems may be different. Now that I'm in VHS, I can tell you affordability, accessibility, maybe some differences may be there. But other than that, patients are just people, and doctors are people who are, because of our training, trying to help people with their concerns, their fears, their situations. So it just is a very simple relationship, doctors and patients. I always say it's actually a meeting of two experts. I'm an expert in diabetes, but you're an expert in your body. So it's a meeting of two experts who, it has to be a shared decision making. So on the, Nanda, Dr. Nida, patient, that I think that era is also gone. It's completely now a matter of informed consent and shared decision making. And coming to diabetes, we all know a huge, giant problem all over the world. There's, we are now slowly going towards 500 million people in the world with diabetes, somewhere around 450 million. But we are going fast towards 500 million. And for one country like us to have close to, I think we are now near 78 million, close to 80 million people in just one country, is just mind-boggling high figure. Okay. So someone, Urvati, when I was giving a talk, someone said, but in your country you have 1.3 billion people. So adla vandu oru 70-80 million people is nothing, 5%. So what is all this hoo-ha about this 5% people having diabetes? But it's not that. See, if you take our country, which has 1.3 billion people, 50% of our people are below the age of 25. So when they say there are 78 million adults having diabetes, they are only talking about that other 700 million people. So, or less than 700 million people. So already you see the number has risen to more than 10%. And then there is a huge number of people who are not yet diagnosed. For example, anytime we go and do a camp, we will find a whole lot of people who didn't even know that they had diabetes. So even 10% is an underestimation. The number is more likely to be close to 15 or 20%. So huge number of people having diabetes, that's one. Just to put it in perspective, number of people with diabetes is more than the population of UK. So just the number of people. So we have a lot of people with diabetes. But what is the second thing that is disturbing about that? And by the way, half are men, half are women. So we are about equal all over the world. Some countries, there may be a little bit more men, some countries a little bit more women. But if you average it out, it's about equal. And I'll come back to why, even though it is equal, why women have more problems. I'll come back to that. The second thing that is happening with diabetes in our country is younger and younger people are getting it. So what used to be a problem of people in their 70s and 80s, Tata Pati, diabetes or kaltala. Then it became Amma Apak, it became 50s and 60s. Then it became 30s and 40s. And now clearly it has moved down to teens and 20s. I'm talking about type 2 diabetes. There is one kind that is type 1, which is clearly due to insulin deficiency that happens in children and adolescents typically. some adults can also get it, but mostly in that age group. That's about, if you take maybe about 5 to 10% of all people with diabetes. But I'm talking about the other type 2 diabetes, which was supposed to happen only in older people, people with a strong family history, heavier build. It was supposed to happen in them. That diabetes is happening now in people, in children and adolescents. And the youngest child that I have with type 2 diabetes in my practice is 8 years old. So completely, all I can say is unacceptable. Okay. So obviously from changing lifestyle. Okay. And all these big changes that we are seeing, and the big increase has happened in the last 20 years or so. So we can't blame 20 years later, our genes have not changed. So it's only largely lifestyle. So when I say lifestyle, it's not like ellarum, we're all not eating, gadot gajan mari saaptundru, but no, but our activity level has come down. What we eat has changed. The amount of stress in our lives has changed, and some other things environmentally also, environment has changed. So this is what has caused the increase in the amount of diabetes, rather than the quantity of food that we eat. It is what we eat, how we eat, when we eat, and compared to that food, our activity is much less. So if you took my, I want to just share something with you. I met a good friend, a nephrologist, a few days ago, before the lockdown, when you could meet friends and have dinner and all that on the timeline. And he said he had a patient who's 90 years old, and asked him, Doctor, na enna saapidra? And I want to eat that, because that generation of people who are in their 90s and 80s and even maybe to an extent in their 70s were eating healthier, less processed food, and were much more physically active. So I think that is what protected people a lot. So then comes a question, why in a country like India, we used to be, by the way, till a few years ago, they kept on calling and wearing it like a badge of honor, Madri, we are the diabetes capital of the world. We lost the title to China a few years ago. We are now number 2. We only have the silver medal, but the WHO's projection, IDF's projection for 2040, 2050, we get the medal back. So China has been able to put in preventive measures to bring it down, whereas we are going to go up a lot and regain our gold medal again. So why in our country are we having this problem? Of course, this whole big transition that has happened, the kind of urbanization and globalization that has happened is probably number one reason. Because our people are not meant to be sitting all day in front of a computer and working, or sitting in front of something and working all day is one thing. And our people were not designed to be, eating this kind of processed foods. And so because of all that changed, and we were meant to be small people. So all our body parts are smaller, be it the kidney, the pancreas, the heart, the blood vessels to the heart, everything is actually meant to be of a certain size. Then you take this person and expose them to excesses of everything. And then the system cannot take it. So one of the reasons why I said, meant to be small people is, genetically we were smaller. And then when babies are born low birth weight, which happens a lot in our country, when you take the rural women and the women with malnutrition, they have smaller sized babies. So when babies are born small, இதெல்லாம் small இருக்கும், including the insulin producing beta cells in the pancreas, the kidneys, everything will be smaller. You bring this baby out or into the world, and உடனே அம்மாலாம் வந்து they want to push all kinds of infant formula and kanji, 3-month-old baby kala solid food தர ஆரம்பிச்சு என்னெல்லாம் பண்ணி they want to fatten up the baby. So in our minds, in the குழுன்னு இருக்கிற குழந்தை தான் looks nice, and we hurt the babies a lot by overfeeding them and making them, this baby who was small, you take it out and overfeed it, this is the baby that will get all these problems going forward. So that's another thing that has happened to them. So all of these things has pushed us into this tsunami. But all is not bad. So the good news is 75 to 80% of diabetes is preventable. So on the message that we want to push very, very hard. The second thing is, so what if the sugar is a little high? That's not how it is. So this is not a question of just the sugar being a little high. What diabetes is actually is a problem of blood vessels, small vessels and big blood vessels. So everything from kidney, heart, the feet, the brain. So what we are going to talk today about Parkinson's and diabetes, I'll come to in just a few minutes. So there is a connection. So when diabetes affects all the blood vessels in the body, the big ones and the small ones, so you can imagine circulation to those parts are going to go down for one thing. Second thing is there's inflammation around these blood vessels. So that inflammation is also is creating some substances that are running around in our body that are not healthy for the cells. So the cells, they undergo damage, especially in the brain. And brain is nothing but cells. Cells and connections, cells and connections. That's all brain, if we think about it. So I'll give you an interesting story. You've all heard of R.K. Narayan, the famous R.K. Narayan. So I had the great privilege of seeing him once as a patient, and he had brought me his brain scan, and adha patti edo kaamichittu he said, "Enoda brain ivlodha irukka doctor, indha size da irukka?" And I said, people would just kill to have that brain. So it's not the size of the brain, that's only one small part of it, but it is how the cells are working and the connections, the synapses, and how the firing is going on between the cells that makes us do all the things, think the things, do the things that we want to do, cognition that we want to do. So if that is damaged in any way, either by the inflammation that is going on, or by lack of blood supply, or by degeneration. So I want to bring up a very, very important point, and I talk about my professor, Dr. Moses, as I get older, much more now, because all what he said 40 years ago, when I listened to him as a medical student, are all coming true. So he used to say, if someone has diabetes, their real age, the age of their cells of their body, is their real age plus the number of years they've had diabetes. Appa solluvar. So if somebody has had diabetes for 15 years and they are 60 years old, their brain is that of a 75-year-old. Brain cells. Their brain will be good. I'm just saying the aging of the cells. So the aging process, the degenerative process is also, speeded up when you have diabetes. So oru pakkam inflammation, oru pakkam lack of blood supply, oru pakkam aging process, and then diabetes is, and then this is also something he used to say, diabetes has got, bad cousins, and these cousins are all high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and then some of these other inflammatory damages that are going on. Some people may have body weight changes. So he used to say they're all bad cousins that go along with the diabetes. So those are also causing some of these damages. So which is why we have to take this diabetes business very seriously, because so many people we know have it. It is so common. No one is scared of it. I want to tell you, and sometimes when I talk, people, it'll sound like I'm joking, but people are more worried about something silly like thyroid than about diabetes, because inga தாத்தாக்கு இருக்கு, பாட்டிக்கு இருக்கு, அத்தைக்கு இருக்கு, பெரியப்பாக்கு இருக்கு, அம்மாக்கு இருக்கு, ஃப்ரெண்டுக்கு இருக்கு, they don't care. They don't care. Whereas something about the moment you say you have a thyroid problem, you can see like their shoulders are like the whole thing with the body language will change. They feel like I have given them a big diagnosis, when in reality it is not. So diabetes has to be taken super seriously, and all the numbers have to be kept where it should be kept, and the amount of engagement one needs in the management of diabetes, I think that is all we need to do. Konjam extra attention to the diabetes. Then in one of the patient groups that I was giving a talk, one of the persons in the audience got up, I think Basanagar, the Puliyar Kovil meeting. So he got up and he said, Dr. Usha, I want to tell you something. He said his wife has diabetes and he's the caregiver. So he said, the diabetes வந்து ஒரு நல்ல பாம்பு மாதிரி, அதை வந்து அடக்கி அந்த பாக்ஸ்ல போட்டு வச்சிடணும், and don't let it out again. You tame this thing and put it in the dabba and close it. And how do you tame it? You tame it by eating the right things, being active, getting the regular checkups, taking the right medications, and making all the learning what is new about it, and keeping on top of it. Okay. So my new thing to say is, we talk a lot about flattening the curve. I think we should talk more about being ahead of the curve. You stay ahead of the game, then you have kept the pamba inside the dabba and it never comes out. So we should worry about diabetes for these reasons. But there's one more reason that we should think about it, and then I'll come to women. We never worry about quality of life with diabetes, but it actually does affect quality of life. So people have aches and pains, people don't sleep so well, people have less energy, people have less mojo, that motivation. They have less of all that. The moment you get their diabetes under control, you will find that all this is so much better. Patients will tell me, I never knew that I had so much energy. So quality of life is also really important, and that's another reason for keeping it under control. The kidneys may be good, the eyes may be good, the heart may be good, the brain may be good, but your own quality of life is very important. So the mantra for diabetes management is, no progress is good progress. Meaning, if you are normal, don't go to pre-diabetes. If you're pre-diabetes, don't go to diabetes. If you have diabetes, don't go to complications. That's all. Whichever stage you are in, don't go to the next one. Only in pre-diabetes you can go back to normal. But once you have diabetes, but you can, stay really, really in good control. So I'll say a few things about diabetes management, and then we'll go to Parkinson's. Diabetes management is good eating. When we say good eating, people can the diabetes sonna odaniye or on the there's this like intense thing about both the diet and the exercise part. So, and I think diet also previously, people have been asked to eat this. What is that thing, G? That lapsi and chaptuale. People were used to eat this, some godume odache. I'm just saying they did a lot of masochistic things. They didn't enjoy food. So you can eat everything: idli, dosa, upma, pongal, adai, pesaret, chapati, eggs, oats. Ellame சாப்பிடலாம். Everything, in moderation. And if you can, be a little creative and make it more wholesome in some way. In a Nambur, South India, every other patient that I talk to, I ask them, tell me what is your typical day like, what do you eat? Morning, idli. Madhyanam sadam. At night, dosa. And then they'll say, na rice oru vela da saapidren. Idli dosa ella edhilend vandhude? Idli, it's rice thane. So they're actually eating rice all the time. So if we can make it, adai and pesaret and multi-grain dosa and, something khichdi, chapati, dal, vegetables. I think there's so much in our diet. We can really have a healthy, good diet. And then if I say oats சாப்பிடுங்க, so அந்த oats எப்படி சாப்பிடுறோம் அவங்க சாப்பிடுறாங்கன்னு கேட்டாக்க, it will be like பாலை போட்டு சர்க்கரையை போட்டு, and so I'll say கொஞ்சம் அதுல put some cardamom, அது பாயசம் ஆயிடும். So every day they'll be having payasam for breakfast. So if you take oats and you put lot of milk and some sugar, that is payasam. You can't have it like that. So that's what I'm saying. We need to have it maybe with milk and maybe a handful of nuts, or you have it with some thair and you can have it with some vegetables. We just have to get a bit creative with food. Then we have to eat lots of vegetables, variety of vegetables, and some, also fruit. So fruit is not forbidden for people with diabetes. Fruit is good because it has antioxidants. I mentioned the inflammation and oxidative stress, and that's particularly important for people with Parkinsons because we talk a lot about oxidative stress. So only thing is the mambaram, palaparam, sitaparam, sapota, grapes. These are not the friendliest for diabetes, whereas apple, orange, guava, watermelon, papaya, plums, pears, இதெல்லாம் நல்லது. So in the season, எது நல்லா இருக்கோ, எது விலை குறைச்சலா இருக்கோ, I tell people they can have them. Then comes the big part, which is eating on time, because you take medicines and if you don't match it with the food, இது எங்கேயோ ஒரு பக்கம் வேலை செஞ்சுட்டு இருக்கும், இது எங்கேயோ ஒரு பக்கம் வேலை செஞ்சுட்டு இருக்கும். The food and the medicines have to be matched. So eating on time is very important. And physical activity. Physical activity just means any activities. We were talking about yoga before the session began. So it can be walking, cycling, yoga, playing outside with some sort of shuttle or badminton, or if people like to play things like basketball, those kind of sports also completely fine. Swimming, anything that makes or go to a Zumba class. So அவங்களோட லைஃப் ஸ்டைல பொறுத்து, affordability பொறுத்து, they can do the activity. If not everyone can afford a Zumba class, so, and not everyone can afford actually internet or to do things on Zoom or anything. Just நம்மளோட லைஃப் ஸ்டைலுக்கு எது சூட் ஆகிறதோ அது பண்ணலாம். I also want to tell you one very disturbing fact about diabetes. In our country, in 8 of the biggest it doesn't sound logical, right? How can the poor have more diabetes than the rich?
Doctor,
That is
that again. We accidentally muted you. You said disturbing fact and we lost you. Can you repeat?
Yeah. In 8 of the biggest cities in India, metros in India, the poor have more diabetes than the rich. And that is because lifestyle of the urban poor, especially the urban poor, has changed so much that their recreation has become television watching. Their foods have become, Maggie and biryani and chips and, and not the nutritious, unprocessed, foods that they're used to eating. So, and, we also think we know there's a huge connection between environmental pollution, crowding, pollution, all of that, and the development of diabetes. So people who live in crowded areas, polluted areas, they are going to get more of these like so-called lifestyle diseases as well. So why I brought that up is, if the urban poor are having so much diabetes, we have to think of what is healthy for that and less costly, and also what kind of activities can they do to keep healthy. So either rendo main thing. And then I think yoga, meditation, mindfulness, doing anything to lower our stress is very important. Learning how to do our own glucose monitoring. That's a brilliant tool that we now have. Hospital pove venda. Labs pakkam I mean, you need to go once in 6 months for a kidney function test, once a year for a cholesterol test, and that HbA1c test, which we do every 3 or 4 months. But the sugar itself, you can just do it at home. And we have such nice, easy equipment now. And by Bluetooth, Ninga Inga Pandrathu will come to your phone and also give you a record. So this is something that every person with diabetes should do. And the reason is, see, suppose, I'll just say there is somebody with diabetes, suddenly they feel faint. Is it because their sugar is high? Is it because their sugar is low? Or it has nothing to do with their sugar? In 5 seconds, you will know the answer if you do the sugar. Instead, what people do is, they'll take some, glucon, edan potu kuchuduvanga. And next time you check it, it'll be 400. So this is really, really, it's important. And for example, a sick day, you have a fever and you're at home, you can keep monitoring, you can talk to your doctor, or even how to manage these things. Then comes the part about having, regular blood pressure checks, regular checkup of the feet. Feet are so important in diabetes because Namboorsla especially we walk barefoot. So the feeling would have gone down. And I'll come to how to connect this with Parkinson's also, because in Parkinson's, one of the problem is this propulsion and retropulsion, meaning people, if they move forward, they just have to keep moving forward. They can't break that speed. Same thing about going back. So if, what can happen if people have falls? And if you are, walking barefoot, anything can poke your foot, anything in the house, and you won't even know about it. And how often are people, especially the elderly, able to check the bottom of their feet? Very, very difficult, unless they, somebody does it for them every day, unless they are able to check it. Many times we end up seeing them much later with an ulcer or something in their foot. Then people go to the temples and they walk barefoot. And temple tenga chill irkom, or the floor will be hot and they won't feel it. Girivalam paitu vande, I've had patients who have burnt both their feet. Tenga chillu kuthum, vaazhapazhatholla kizhare vizhunduruvanga. So why I'm bringing this up is there are 2 new complications to diabetes which I want to bring up that was not there till recently, not known till recently. Number one is there are more fractures in people with diabetes than people without. And in women, much more than in men. So if you fall for any reason, and if you also have diabetes, greater risk of fracture. The next one is cancer. We didn't know till recently that diabetes is a risk factor for cancer. So there is 27% more cancer in people with diabetes in women, and about 17% more in men. Either way, there is more cancer. And why this is important is there are a few things that we can do to prevent cancer. No smoking. It's also good for diabetes, also good for the brain. No drinking, good for diabetes, good for the brain, and good for cancer. And of course, in the pogele and chewing tobacco and all that. And then earliest symptoms, we have to go to a doctor to check it out. And a few small things that we now have that women can be, women and men, both young women and men can be given a vaccination, HPV vaccination for cervical cancer. And women should learn how to do self-breast exam. So this cancer attention also must come in diabetes. So if we do all of these things, I think, like I said in the beginning, we can tame that beast and put it inside a box and never let it come out. Now coming to Parkinson's, that is a bigger mystery than, it's a kind of a mystery, because I think after all these years also, we are still grappling with, why some people, get it. And so they keep coming up with, new theories and possible pathophysiologic mechanisms. But short answer is, we don't have I don't think we fully know what makes some people develop it. And there are occasional, there are a few instances where it's known to run in families. Okay, but it doesn't happen all the time. Most of it is random, sporadic, happening in individuals. We also know that majority of people get it somewhat later in life, but we also know that, there are many who get it even when they are in their 50s and 60s. And then we also know that there is Parkinson's that is very slow and insidious, and in some where it has a more aggressive course. So I think it's just the nature of the condition and what caused it to start. But what we can do when somebody has Parkinson's is, of course, definitely the good lifestyle and taking the medications, following up with the physician and all of those things. But what can you do when you have Parkinson's and diabetes, and what is the connection between the two? So, which is why I said from the beginning that diabetes is a problem of blood vessels and inflammation, and the same thing happens in the brain. And which is why there is an increased risk of Parkinson's or Parkinsonian symptoms. See, that's another thing that we need to differentiate, that some people may have Parkinson's-like symptoms and signs, but it's not Parkinson's disease. And I'll tell you why that is, because diabetes is a problem of blood vessels. And if suppose it involves the blood vessels of the extrapyramidal tract, then what will happen is people may have symptoms like Parkinson's, but it may not be the other Parkinson's disease. So the ones that many people without diabetes get, or people who don't have, and sometimes you can have a stroke in that area and start having extrapyramidal symptoms. There are a couple of unique things. People with diabetes and Parkinson's seem to be at higher risk for a condition called impulse control disorder. Impulse control disorder is, sometimes I think I have that, which is compulsively you want to shop. Yeah. Gita just said sorry, that's why I laughed. I didn't mean to laugh. So this impulse control disorder can be can be quite distressing, because it can be in other aspects of one's life. Okay, people have been known to have it. Shopping is just gambling. So if somebody is playing cards or gambling in some other way, it may not be because they may have no control over it. It may be part of this problem. They've also said this about this compulsive, this impulse control thing, also with sexual activity. And I'm just putting it out there to say that occasionally, it may be rare and random happenings, but it may be for no fault of theirs. It's part of the disease and part of having this diabetes and thing together. So when people have Parkinson's and also diabetes, the critical thing is to keep blood sugars under very good control, very, very good control. Blood pressure under something about blood pressure, and I don't know, is it only Indian people, Geeta? We do not take BP also seriously. Ninga yenda patient in clinic vartom, they'll say, inge vandada enakku high iruk. I'm not making this up. This is incredible. I mean, every patient will tell me that. And it's 120 by 80. So I know it is some suspect thing. And the 120, 18 so they don't want to believe that. So nobody wants to believe they have BP. So they don't want to take medicines. So again, I'll just share the story of a patient, because so there was this lady who came to see me. I've been seeing her for her thyroid problem, and every time I check all my patients' blood pressure. So modal vati higher. I said higher irukku. Ninga or 1 week thiruppi vaango, and I'll check it, and if it is still high, we'll have to address this. So of course she came back after 3 months, and then not 1 week. Either usual excuse, and she came back after 3 months, and still it was high. And I said, you must, we must start the medicine. We also need to do some. Then she said, I have, now I have not been sleeping for the last 4 days. There has been some other stress in my house. So எனக்கு ஒரு 5-6 நாள் time கொடுங்க, I'll come back. Okay, never came back. 2 months. Another 2 months later, she comes. So by this time, I'm already in VHS. Okay, so she comes to see me, and her pressure is still high. Then she says, I hope எல்லாருக்கும் தமிழ் தெரியும் இல்லையா நான் பேசுறது. So she says, இப்ப நான் சொல்றதை நீங்க நம்பவே போறதில்லை. I said, try me. I'm not going to believe, but try me. So she says, நான் VHS குள்ள வந்தேன்னா என்னை ஒரு குரங்கு துரத்திட்டு. And VHS kulla kurangu irukku. So in a way I can believe her, but what I'm trying to say is ella vidhamana excuse. So I'm actually going to write a book and put her in my first chapter. So kurangu thorthithu adanal da en pressure is high. So no, they don't want to take BP medicines. So we have to make sure that blood pressure is super well controlled, and foods that are rich in antioxidant, not supplements, but foods that are rich in antioxidants like fruit and vegetables, red fruit and yellow fruit and orange things. And so we need to take all of those things. Some people may be put on aspirin by their physician, not everyone, but on a selected case-by-case basis to see, because if they have circulation problem and there is blood flow is thickened blood flow problem, they may be put on a blood thinner to facilitate the flow of blood to the brain. So obviously it is something that has to be taken under medical supervision also. So they may be put on a low dose aspirin. So as far as and then all people with diabetes, all people with diabetes over the age of 40 must be on a statin. Statin is the cholesterol lowering medicine. That is the new guideline, not new, a few years. Everyone, men, women, must be on a cholesterol lowering medicine, even if the cholesterol is normal. And the reason for that is only 25% of the cholesterol lowering comes in, only 25% of benefit of a statin comes from cholesterol lowering. 75% is what we call pleiotropic, the other things what it does to the blood vessels, nitric oxide, lowering the oxidative stress, increasing the blood flow to the brain. It does so many good things to the heart, to the brain, that they must be on a statin after the age of 40. And this is also good for the brain blood flow, you know, what is happening in the brain. So, but unfortunately, you know, I want to say something here. The biggest harm to patients that has happened in my career is WhatsApp. And I'm dead serious about this. People read all sorts of crap that is on WhatsApp and either stop taking things, start taking things, stop, you know, taking their medicine, start new things, believe new things. Absolutely 99.999% of what's in WhatsApp is fake news. Okay, so Sudha, you are agreeing with me? Okay, so complete fake news. Okay, for example, right now there's a medicine called metformin. I don't know if any of you have diabetes or any of your family members have diabetes, and they're on a medicine called metformin. Adida ingloda, what we call, I call the floor. Everything we build is on top of that. It's such a valuable medicine, time tested on a, you know, medicine. So, and it's made by many companies, we know that. So in some batches of that medicine, they found a chemical recently in the extended release, which is causing a lot of, the FDA has pulled some batches of the extended release metformin because it had this contaminant. So it's not the medicine, but the contaminant. Immediately what is happening in Twitter and WhatsApp and in social media is metformin causes cancer. So this is the kind of lots of fake news that is spreading around. So there's a lot of fake news about statin also. So if you have any serious doubt about you know, any of the medications you're taking or some news you're hearing, the best thing is to talk to your physician and go to very credible sites. There are, you know, a couple of very credible sites. Not WhatsApp. For example, during this COVID time, the amount of nonsense that is coming every day in our phone about COVID is all false. So having antioxidants and you know, going for taking low dose aspirin if recommended by your doctor, taking the statin, and of course taking the Parkinson's medicines. Are they separate? And it is separate. So both have to be taken together to get the best kind of results for a person who has both of these. Do we have to do anything else differently for, you know, people with Parkinson's? Like I said, you know, people with Parkinson's are more prone to falls, and people with diabetes are more prone to fractures. So fall prevention is critically important. Critical. Recently, my relative had a fall in not a few months ago in Bangkok airport. He had Parkinson's disease, and the simple reason was he tried to rush and couldn't stop his. See, that's the problem with in Parkinson's. If you move forward too fast, you can't stop it quickly. Same thing with going back. So all movements have to be, measured and not abruptly fast. So fall prevention, the house has to be, fall prevention, fall proof. எங்கேயும் ஈரம் இருக்கக்கூடாது, எங்கேயும் wires and carpets and this and that, children playing with toys. Those are the things that people, trip and fall, and small falls will make. So it will be a combination of slightly older age group, and if it's a woman post-menopause, if they have diabetes, already the bone loss and the quality of the bone is not good, and the fall due to Parkinson's, so that would be a big risk that we can prevent. So then it comes to all things only about, how to stop the aging of the brain. So there I want to tell you that recently they have shown that there's a part of the brain called the hippocampus. This is the one that is needed for memory and some other, cognition. And so if we want, and they've actually shown that you can regenerate the hippocampus. So the hippocampus can, it degenerates more under stress if people don't sleep enough, obstructive sleep apnea and snoring and all that. So these are all things that actually make and obesity. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. Obesity, all of them actually cause shrinking of the hippocampal cells. So if you eat healthy, do more physical activity, bring your weight down, sleep better, do mindfulness exercises. Mindfulness has been shown to help in this. They actually showed the hippocampus regenerate. So these are all the things that, we can do to help someone who has both of these conditions.